White, female, she, her, hers pronouns, heterosexual. I'm not who you typically think of when you think of diversity. As a matter of fact, for much of my life, I didn't want to be seen as different. I strived to fit in. I wanted to be like everybody else. Years ago, like many high-achieving 20-year-olds, I landed a coveted summer internship at a New York City law firm. My job that summer was to showcase the evolution of a laundry detergent box top to prove why it deserved a patent. I had to cut out and put together various box top competitors. About 3 weeks in, the senior partner on the case called me into his office. He didn't ask me to sit. "Ruth, did you ever go to kindergarten?" he said, pointing to a pile of crudely cut copies. "Because if you had, you would have learned how to use scissors." I left his office embarrassed and ashamed because of my secret. I had been living as a con artist, representing myself as having 2 functional hands, when in fact, I was born with only 1. I couldn't tell him the reason. So instead, I used huge law books to hold down the paper to cut cleaner pieces. I spent extra hours in the basement because no one was around, so no one would see my hand. I was obsessed with hiding. I hated the stares and the double takes. I was afraid of the questions. How many times a day did I have to answer total strangers asking, "Hey, what happened to your hand?" Or even meaner things like, "Did you cut it off yourself?" Hiding ruled my life. I backed out of trips with friends to the beach because I didn't want to wear short sleeves or a bathing suit. I didn't go skiing because how could I explain needing only 1 pole? Hiding my hand was the real reason I didn't do things. I was constantly worrying and forecasting my next steps so as not to be discovered. On dates, I ordered pasta when I really wanted steak. It was just so much easier to cut with 1 hand. All of my outfits always had pockets. I got really, really good at this. Even during intimate encounters, my partners didn't know about it. I lived this way for 25 years, and no one knew. It was exhausting and lonely. I was petrified that if someone found out, they wouldn't be my friend. They wouldn't hire me. They wouldn't date me. They wouldn't love me. They'd find me ugly. And it's interesting because as a kid, I didn't even know I was different. And that's a credit to my parents. Luckily, the hospital nurse noticed my mom gently sobbing. So she took my parents aside and said, "You will take this little girl home, you will love her, and you will treat her as you would any other child." And that's exactly what they did. They encouraged me to try everything. No, my limb difference didn't bother me until I was 13, headed to a new co-ed high school, when I made the impulsive decision that day on the bus to hide my little hand in the front left pocket of my tight jeans, just for the day. From that day forward, hiding and experimenting the ways I could perfect hiding became my top priority. I didn't realize that being seen as normal would come to run my life. It was a lot like lying. The longer that you do it, the harder it is to get out of the story you've spun. The longer I hid, the harder it was to stop hiding. After that summer internship, I vowed I would never hide my hand in a work setting again. And I thought I hadn't. During my career, I was in a senior leadership role at a nonprofit focused on underserved youth of color. We were in a meeting about a recent hire, and I was questioned about the diversity of leadership in the organization. I asked, well, what about me? Do you see me as diverse? One of them responded, I guess you're a woman. I said, yeah, what about my limb difference? Do you see that as diversity? I was told they didn't see me that way. At first, I was mad. This is not right. I want to be included. And then I wondered, well, why is it that they don't see me that way? And I realized it's because I wasn't owning my disability. I hadn't shared my journey with anyone. And it turns out, hiding is not uncommon. A 2013 study, Deloitte found 61% of employees hide a part of their identity at work. I've been on a number of diversity panels that feature deep conversations about race and gender. Very few of those workplaces open the conversation to other areas of difference. How we define diversity contributes to hiding. Disability, the visible, and the invisible are missing from the diversity agenda. And let me tell you why that ought to be shocking. 90% of companies commit to diversity initiatives. Only 4% have disability as part of their priorities on that platform. Only 3% of articles that talk about diversity even reference disability. Only 20% of C-suite leaders who have a disability admit to having one. 1 in 4 American adults has a disability. That makes those with disability the largest minority group. Disability cuts across all lines. It doesn't discriminate. So, don't you think it's time we redefine diversity to be fully inclusive? If we can agree that an expanded definition of diversity is the goal, then we need to think about what are the next steps towards this. I believe that we start by getting comfortable with our own differences first. The ultimate love advocate, Dr. Leo Buscaglia, said, you have to love yourself first before you can let others love you. I disagree. I think that when you let others in, even one person to love you, they can teach you how to love those parts of yourself that you find unlovable. Because that's what happened to me. I met someone who taught me how to love my hand, how to cherish it, how to touch it, how to actually look at my hand, how to love that part of myself that I deemed unlovable for so long. And little by little, I let others in too. And I connected with a group of people who had limb differences just like mine, shared experiences, and it was super powerful to know I wasn't alone. And then I started to share out with others my story of hiding and difference. And you know what happened? The more I got comfortable with myself, the more people started feeling comfortable with me and sharing their stories of hiding and difference and challenge and shame. When we hide parts of ourselves, we miss out on all that life has to offer. Those connections, the adventures, the experiences. we exclude and excuse ourselves from living. We act in ways to fit in, and then we get disappointed that we remain unseen and left out. We have to unhide, accept ourselves, and teach people how we want to be treated. Just like living a lie had kept me trapped, I found there is momentum in telling the truth. Yeah, it can be really scary to tell the truth, but it's totally worth it. I experienced joy again. It's how I got back to living my life. On a recent trip to Belize, I took a morning and tried my hand at ziplining. Harnessing up, I noticed I had no orange gloves. So I said to the guide, "Hey, what about my gloves?" And he said, "Yeah, you won't need them. You'll be going on the back of a buddy." Without even referring to my hand, I knew what he meant. I said, "Absolutely not. I downhill ski, I water ski, I kayak. I want the same experience as everyone else." Luckily, another guide overheard us, and he said, "You'll be fine. You only need one hand to zipline, and that's for the break." He handed me my orange gloves. The nerve of that first guide. He noticed my hand and then formulated a plan based on what he imagined I could or could not do, without ever getting my input. This happens all the time to people with disabilities and differences. He didn't do it to be cruel. He thought he was being helpful. As a person born with this hand, I've learned to adapt and accommodate in ways that people can't even imagine. Rather than asking what people need, we make assumptions. Please stop assuming. Ask instead. Unhiding? It allowed me to lose fear. It allowed me to form authentic connections. It allowed me to take risks with confidence. Unhiding shows who I am. It allows the outside world to redefine diversity in ways that are fully inclusive. When I stopped hiding, I found freedom. Ready? Last words.
She's gonna do it.
Okay, here. Oh, I need to turn it this way on me. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay. Okay, just hold on.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Another survivor here.
Thank you.